Understanding risk is important for effective decision-making, especially for leaders navigating uncertain landscapes. Risk is not a static concept. It's dynamic according to potential gains and losses. When we're in a position to gain, we become risk-averse. We are likely to prefer the certainty of a modest benefit over unpredictability of a larger yet uncertain gain. On the other hand, when faced with the possibility of a loss, our risk tolerance often shifts, making us more willing to take risks in the hope of avoiding that loss. The shifts in risk tolerance are important to recognize as they can influence critical decisions we make in both our professional and personal life. Consider an all-for-nothing scenario where you are given two choices. A. Take a guaranteed $100. B. Gamble to possibly win $200. What's your choice? Most people, when faced with this decision in an experiment, opted for the guaranteed $100. While gambling may offer the enticing possibility of winning $200, there is a 50% chance of ending up with nothing. The choice to take the $100 and walk away seems safer and more appealing. Now, let's analyze another all-for-nothing scenario where the stakes are losses rather than gains. C. Lose $100. D. Gamble to possibly lose nothing or lose $200. What's your choice? Interestingly, in the same experiment, when faced with the potential loss, most participants switch their approach to choose option D, demonstrating a risk-seeking behavior. If they were to win the bet, they had a 50% chance of losing nothing. On the other hand, there was a 50% chance of losing $200. The potential to lose nothing seemed to outweigh the risk of losing more, and people were more willing to gamble to avoid the definite loss. This experimental outcome illustrates a fundamental psychological principle about how we approach risk. The way people perceive and respond to risk depends on the context of the decision, whether it is framed as a gain or a loss. This pattern of behavior has been widely studied and recognized in fields such as economics, finance, and psychology. It highlights the complex, often contradictory nature of human decision-making and risk preference, where the attraction to a sure gain can swiftly turn into a willingness to gamble when a loss is on the line. Imagine yourself in the high-stakes world of politics, running for a public office. Voters are pressing you to take a stance on a hot-button issue, and reporters are clamoring for interviews to get your views on the controversial matter. The situation is delicate, and your response could have significant consequences. What would you do? A. Do everything you can to avoid the controversial issue, remaining non-committal. B. Announce a bold plan to address the controversy, taking a clear stand. What's your choice? The path you choose likely hinges on your current standing in the election race. Human behavior in the political sphere, much like in other domains, is influenced by the perceived stakes and potential rewards and risk. If you are leading in the polls, enjoying a comfortable position ahead of other candidates, you may find yourself leaning towards option A. This is the risk-averse choice, reflecting a desire to maintain the status quo and not rock the boat. Why take a chance on a controversial issue that could backfire? In the high-wire act of politics, one wrong step or misguided statement can be catastrophic. A cautious approach could help preserve your lead, keeping controversies at arm's length. However, if you find yourself lagging in the polls, perhaps even trailing significantly behind, your mindset may shift to a riskier approach, like presented by option B. This is the risk-seeking option, born out of a need to change the dynamics of the race, with less to lose and perhaps everything to gain. Taking a bold stand on a divisive issue may resonate with potential voter groups, create media buzz, and potentially shift the narrative in your favor. This hypothetical scenario highlights the nuanced and strategic nature of political decision-making. It mirrors real-world political behavior where risk preferences are not static but rather dynamic. The calculus of risk and reward is continually being assessed, influenced by factors such as public opinion, media coverage, actions of opponents, and the specific nature of the controversial issue at hand. The choice between playing it safe and taking a risk is not only about ideals and principles, but also about understanding the landscape, knowing when to be bold and when to be cautious, and maneuvering through a complex web of interests and perceptions. In the midst of the Great Depression in the 1930s, the United States found itself grappling with political collapse and despair. The challenge was unprecedented. President FDR launched a series of innovative and precedent-breaking programs. He described them as playing things against the wall and see if they would stick, a bold approach that shaped a critical period in American history. Now consider a scenario in the context of leadership succession. A. Select a leader who has been working in the organization for years, an insider who understands the internal dynamics. B. Select a leader from a different organization, an outsider who brings fresh perspectives, but may also carry unknown risk. Which one would you choose? Leadership succession is a delicate and high-stakes process that often reveals the underlying risk preference of those making the decision. The selection of a leader is not merely a matter of individual qualifications. It's also a strategic choice that can profoundly impact an organization's future. Option A. Selecting an insider is often seen as the less risky path. An insider knows the organization's culture, operations, strengths, and weaknesses. They are a known entity with a proven track record and established relationships within the organization. Choosing an insider may signal continuity, stability, and a gradual evolution of existing strategies. Option B. Selecting an outsider can be viewed as a higher risk maneuver. An outsider brings a fresh perspective, potentially leading to transformative changes, innovation, and growth. However, they may also be an unknown entity with the potential to disrupt established practices, misalign with organizational values, or even create a toxic environment. The potential rewards are significant, but so are the risks. The choice between an insider and an outsider embodies a complex interplay between risk aversion and risk-taking, continuity and change, known variables and unknowns. An organization facing a stable environment may prefer the familiarity and predictability of an insider. In contrast, an organization seeking transformation and new horizons may be attracted to the potential of an outsider. Poverty, an enduring global challenge, extends its reach beyond mere financial deprivation. Its ramifications have profound implications for risk-taking and risk-aversion behaviors. Unexpected financial hardships like job loss have an adverse effect on psychological health, leading to increased stress and a decrease in overall satisfaction. The emotional states induced by poverty are not merely transient feelings. They translate into tangible behaviors that can perpetuate the cycle of poverty. Studies have found that negative emotional states such as sadness, anxiety, and stress decrease risk-taking behavior and increase impatience or time discounting. Those behaviors can lead to decisions that may seem rational in the short term but are disadvantageous in the long run. Positive emotional states, on the other hand, encourage risk-taking and patience, behaviors that may provide more significant opportunities for growth and advancement. The findings suggest that it's not enough to address financial scarcity alone. Effective programs must also consider the psychological ramifications of poverty and the risk-averse behaviors they induce. The subtle movements of a computer mouse may seem an unlikely indicator of a person's risk preferences, but they can be surprisingly revealing. When faced with the choice between a risky or safe bet on the computer screen, the path that your mouse takes could unveil hidden tendencies. If the cursor drifts towards the safe option even momentarily before selecting the risky bet, it may indicate an underlying risk aversion that underlies the financial choice. On the other hand, a movement towards the risk, even if the final decision is the safe option, may suggest a hidden inclination towards risk-taking. Those seemingly inconsequential hesitations and attractions toward a choice that was not selected may reveal profound insights into our decision-making complexity and how challenging the decision may be. The dynamics of risk preferences extend beyond individual choices and permeate group decision-making. Different procedures, rules, and variables can tip the balance of a group's collective risk preference. First, knowledge of others' choices. When group members are aware of one another's initial decisions or inclinations, the collective decision tends to lean towards the risk-seeking side. This awareness may create a collective confidence or momentum towards embracing risk. Second, group size matters. The bigger the group, the more risk-seeking it tends to become. Larger group size may dilute personal responsibility, creating diffusion of responsibility and encouraging a riskier consensus. Third, individual risk tolerance. The innate predispositions towards the risk of each group member also play a crucial role. Entrepreneurs, known for their tolerance for risk, may influence a group's decision-making significantly. If a group is composed primarily of entrepreneurs, they collectively lean towards riskier decisions compared to a group of non-founder executives. This highlights the importance of considering individual characteristics when assessing a group's preferences. Fourth, rewards and punishment systems. The way a group's risk-taking decision is incentivized or penalized drastically influence the willingness to take risk. Many organizational policies do not favor risk-taking behavior. If a bold move leads to failure, the repercussions often include punishment, be it a demotion, financial penalty, or loss of reputation. This system of rewards and punishment can effectively quash innovative or unconventional decisions, leading to the question, why bother taking a risk? Fifth, organizational culture and leadership. The overarching culture within an organization and the leadership's stance on risk can also heavily influence group decisions. An environment that encourages experimentation and tolerates failure will likely create more risk-taking, while a conservative climate may stifle it. Understanding the organizational factors that influence a group's risk preference offer invaluable insights into both personal preferences and organizational decision-making. Pay attention to group members' individual risk preferences, group size, innate risk tolerances, reward systems, and organizational culture. Start observing your decision-making process and those of others around you. See if you can spot instances of risk aversion and risk-taking. Please feel free to share your comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.